You are at the AI Advantage Summit, hosted by Power Agent Academy, and I am your host, Rick Janson. Some of you are here for the AI Advantage Summit 1. If you weren't, just a little recap. We had industry experts that were our coaches, real estate agents, top producers that were sharing how they're using AI on a daily basis, how they're coaching their students to use AI. And what we're going to cover, and so we covered tools, we covered tips, we covered tricks, we covered prompts, we covered how to use AI in video, we used it on how to create outlines. And if people were not there for that, that was 10 hours, 14 speakers. We got 10 recordings out of that. And if anybody wants access to that, drop something in the chat and I will follow up with you later. I think recordings to that are $49 for 10 hours of information. That was absolutely phenomenal. So we'll get there in just a minute. But some of the speakers today are absolutely phenomenal. Actually, all our speakers today are actually phenomenal. I'm really blessed that they agreed to spend some time with you. And the exciting thing, like Bruce Turkel is a national expert on branding. Absolutely phenomenal. One of the best speakers, one of the best people I've ever met. He's going to just light your hair on fire. Jerry O'Brien has just an absolutely phenomenal talk on what is your because. So many people speak to what is your why. If your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. Jerry has developed what is your because, which is a new way of looking at you and how you approach who you are in your brand and your marketing. We've got Jeffrey Broger from YLopo. YLopo is way out front in sharing with people like in developing AI tools, getting AI to be responsive to inbound leads via text, now via conversational AI. Can you imagine a world in which AI is actually having a voice conversation, interactive, not one of those robot calls out of India these robots are calling me from a political center for a campaign. These conversational AI companies, and I now know 3 or 4 of them that I'm talking to on a weekly basis, where the conversational AI actually interacts with what you're saying. So it'll say, Eric, thank you so much for sharing with me that you're looking for a home with 3 bedrooms because you have little kids. Can you tell me more about that? And active listening in the conversation. That stuff's just wow, really phenomenal stuff. So one of the things that like Jerry is going to cover is what's your because. And when I started putting this together, the reason I wanted to focus on marketing and branding and put everybody together on this, the panel that we've got together, this fantastic panel, is because AI allows you to do massive amplification of your voice. You can broadcast now anywhere, everywhere. You can pump out content just relentlessly. But the question is, what are you amplifying? If you're amplifying a message that doesn't resonate with your audience, then you're just amplifying spam out to the world. There's just no value to it. If you understand your customer, if you understand your unique selling proposition, and you can marry the two together and say, okay, how am I solving? Who am I talking to? What problems am I solving? What fears am I overcoming? What goals am I helping them achieve? And how am I positioned in the market to actually help them? When you marry those together in your communication, then AI becomes really powerful. And one of the things I'm actually working on right now with a coach I admire a lot, Patrick James, is we have a, excuse me. One of the things I'm now working on with a coach I admire, Patrick James, is he has a fantastic program centered around DISC. Everybody familiar with DISC, where you have some dominance and intuitives and creatives. But he has a program where when you walk into a room, how you can identify if someone's a D, an I, an S, or a C. And I said, Patrick, What are you doing then to address that with your marketing materials on the spot, on the fly, and in your follow-up communication? And he was hemming and hawing a little bit. And I said, can I help you with that and make it better, faster, cheaper? And he said, sure. So I said, what if you took your listing presentation and then you had Chatgpt or Claude or Bard or Bing? If you had Chatgpt, is the one I'm going to use for this, and I'm usually going to reference Chatgpt. What if you had Chatgpt rewrite your listing presentation for D's, then rewrite it for I's, rewrite it for S's, rewrite it for C's, and inject some NLP in there, neuro-linguistic programming, where you're actually nuancing your conversation towards the personality that you've identified this person to be. What if you spoke to your fellow real estate agents or the agents on your team? If the agents on your team, or if your admins, your VAs, your TCs, if you've had any of them take a disc profile and you actually know what it is, what if before you fire off that email that might be high D because you're a driver to someone who's more of a community person or a creative person, what if you tailored that communication so that it resonated with their ears rather than just being bigger with a megaphone of your voice? And so we're putting together something right now. I'm coming alongside coaches like Patrick to team up and rewrite coaching programs to leverage AI, where they're going to teach the basics and the fundamentals, and then I sprinkle the AI pixie dust on top. Would anybody like to just do a live demo right now of how you create a customer avatar? Does anybody know what customer avatar is? And do people know what Chatgpt, Bard, Bing, Claude are? Or should I go into some basics here for 5 minutes? So it's funny, I never used Microsoft Edge like a day in my life. But two things have had me using it. One is I do using Bing Chat for some current up-to-date information. I found it very helpful. The other thing is Google Chrome. I like it for the Chatgpt extensions, but I don't like it for Zoom. For some reason, Chrome always crashes my Zoom and all of a sudden starts making it really edgy. And so I get like a faster browser experience with Edge. So you might see me bouncing back and forth between them. But here we go. So I'm just going to do a quick overview. Chatgpt is by OpenAI. And this, again, for those of you who've been here before, or those of you who are deep into AI, give me 5 minutes. I just want to make sure that everybody else has the basics covered. Chatgpt has two versions. It has a 3.5, which you see here on the left. It has a 4, which you can only access if you pay. It's $20 a month. You start with a chat up here in the top left. You click new chat. And then down here in the bottom, it says send a message. And so you type out whatever you want down here. You hit enter. So create a greeting for a webinar covering AI topics for realtors. I'm going to hit enter, and I can't see what I'm typing because my Zoom controls are over it. But if I, it's funny because Chatgpt can see right past the typos. But you can see how I typed something in. I chatted with Chatgpt, hit enter, and now it's accessing a trillion data points, all cataloged, all of its knowledge, all of copywriting, marketing, real estate coaches, business coaches, all the information it can find. It's accessing that, and it's trying to bring something back to me. The way I like to think, but I gave it a really simple prompt in, so it's giving me something very generic back. And I don't necessarily like what it's giving back, but that's my fault. Think of Chatgpt, think of AI, whether it's Claude, Bard, Bing, or Chatgpt. And again, I'm going to cover basics here for just 5-10 minutes. Think of AI as a blank golden retriever with a big brain. And this golden retriever knows millions of things, smarter than 500 people, studies show. 500 Wharton students, 200 Wharton students teamed up against Chatgpt in a business competition and lost. But it doesn't know what to give you if you don't know what to ask it for. So you're going to say, Chatgpt, here I just said, do this, but I didn't tell Chatgpt. I told Chatgpt what to do, but I didn't tell it who it was, specifically what I wanted from it, what tone, what style, I didn't give it an example. I didn't say what my end goal was. I didn't say what the audience was. I didn't say if it was for an email or a YouTube or whatever. So giving it something very blank, very basic on the front end, it didn't know. So as a blank golden retriever with a big brain, it just brought me back a sock. It didn't bring me back a dirty sock, but I asked for a ball. And so I said, go get the ball, and it brought me back a sock. So now I can go back into this chat down here. And the wonderful thing about it, again, we're just covering basics for 5-10 minutes. The wonderful thing about this chat down here is it'll learn from up above, and it'll retain that information. And as I type in more information, it gets smarter. And as I type in more information, it gets smarter. And I can also ask it, help me help you. Tell me what you need to know to give me better output if this is my goal and objective. So ChatGPT is wonderful because, and I'm going to go through the four engines here in the four main engines here for just a second, or the generative large language models is what they're called. Just layman's terms, AI. But I like ChatGPT because ChatGPT has a very good analytic brain, and it interacts with more text. It is more responsive, and it speaks more like a human. Now, one thing you will notice when you start using it a lot is it has its favorite words. It has its favorite phrases. I notice it uses the word unlock, for example, unlocking the future, AI and real estate. It loves that word. So there are tools, and I'll share those tools with you on once you get AI response, excuse me, once you get an AI response, think of it getting you 75 to 90% of the way there. I always used to say 90, but I really think it's more like 80 to 90% of the way there. Because not only do you have to refine the content, and you can keep interacting with it to get it to give you better and better content. And as you see it giving you content back, dive deeper here, go more here, change this here, it'll give you more. And then you can, at the end, say, now regenerate one big 500-word conversation, because now we're speaking each other's language. So just go back to the top with all the knowledge we've had from this whole conversation, restart, and now with all that we've talked about, now I know what to ask you for. Give me the 500-word paragraph for an email to a high D, a home seller that's really concerned about high interest rates, but they don't want to sell at 8% because they're locked in at 3%. Make the tone friendly, optimistic, professional, and can create that compelling argument for blank. And it'll learn from everything you've done up above, but you're also learning from everything you've done up above because you're talking back and forth. You're chatting with ChatGPT. So now you use all of your prompt engineering that you've learned, because ChatGPT is telling you how to interact with it. You're learning better how to interact with it. It's learning how to be better for you. So now you can actually see the golden retriever, and the golden retriever knows exactly what you wanted to give it. And you say, all right, bring me back a 2-inch rubber coated ball with a hard center with medium density that has a shiny coating that won't retain saliva from your golden retriever mouth, but will be covered in antibacterial that's non-toxic to you, but won't get me sick. And it's not going to get grass stains, but it's going to come back shiny and yellow, and go get that ball. And it's going to get you the most tailored ball you've ever seen, because that's exactly what you asked for it. It won't bring you back the sock. Does that make sense? Because it wants to please you. It wants to give you what you're asking, but you need to know how to ask for it. So anyway, ChatGPT I use because for when I'm looking more for text that I'm going to send to somebody that I want them to read. And again, I'm going to show you tools that get you the other 10%. So that gets you 80% of the way there. Then you're going to sprinkle your pixie dust on top of it and say, okay, this is my knowledge. Gurjeet, Shelley, you're experienced realtors, or at least you're experienced in your area, even if you're new as a realtor. Now bring your personal knowledge to ChatGPT. Bring your personal knowledge to the article. If you're writing an article on your favorite neighborhood, ChatGPT and Bing, they can give you tons of information, and I'll show you how to do that. but then you still bring your own personal experiences. You write a story about a time when you brought your kids to the park, or you walked your dog on a trail and met a former president. Like whatever might engage people, you sprinkle on top, because people still want to know you, like you, trust you before they do business with you. Then you're up to 90%. The final 90 to 100%, I bring it over to a tool like, and I'll put this in the chat later, so don't worry about accessing it. But I put it in a tool that rewrites everything and scrubs it for AI structure, scrubs it for AI words, rewrites it with synonyms that are more human sounding, restructures paragraphs in ways that are more human sounding. And you can go through word by word, paragraph by paragraph and do this, or you can go through and just hit AI magic button and it'll automatically rewrite the article. It'll rewrite it 400 times for you in different ways. But it also injects SEO, search engine optimization, for topics I put in, such that when I post it, Google's not going to penalize me for having AI content, because obviously Google is very smart. Their algorithms are very, very smart. Once it started seeing the internet flood with all this AI content, it said, whoa, wait a minute, this isn't valuable. This is just rewriting stuff. We're going to start penalizing AI content on websites. Well, that doesn't help your marketing and branding, does it? So we put it in another tool that rewrites it, scrubs it, makes it more human, and doesn't penalize you on Google. And that's what you actually use if you're posting on a website. If you're just sharing an email to a client, I don't go through that extra effort. If I'm blasting something out on MailChimp, I don't go that extra effort. But if I am concerned about my SEO and my website content and structure, my organic reach, then I'm going to do that extra 10%. So Claude, I said, is by proximity. I apologize. It's by Anthropic. Claude has a slightly different structure. But again, you just start with a new chat, and then it keeps track of your chats, and you interact with Claude in a similar fashion. So to Chatgpt, but why do I use Claude by Anthropic in times when I don't use Chatgpt? Claude has a larger memory. So I think Chatgpt's memory is like 40,000 characters or 40,000 words or something like that. Claude's is 100,000. So when I am putting in a very large prompt, or if I'm putting in a very large article to summarize, there are numerous ways to summarize articles and rewrite stuff. If I have larger content as input, or if I want to have a larger, longer conversation, and I'm not concerned if I'm using 2023 data or just data writ large from 2021 or whatever the model might be based off of, because Claude hasn't really revealed how it built its brain, how it built its large language model, the generative large language model that people call AI. They haven't really shared, and nobody really shares where their intel comes from exactly. But if I think it's going to be accurate enough, or if I'm looking to do something larger, longer, then I use Claude, because ChatGPT will start getting dementia and forget my prompts up earlier. Like I said, everybody says you can learn your voice, it can get better. All this wonderful stuff is true until it forgets. And then you have to reinsert your prompts. I always keep a cheat sheet in like Notepad or some other texting Word document. I always keep a running list of prompts I'm using, because I'm going to have to copy them and paste them and put them back in. Claude, I don't have to do that as much. So when I'm using Claude, I can say, hey, here's this really long article. I tried to get a plugin on ChatGPT to read that article. It couldn't read the PDF. It couldn't access the link. I tried using all the plugins. So now I just go over to the article online, or I go to the PDF on my laptop. I copy and paste all. I throw it into Claude. And then I say, based off this information, I want you to do this, X, Y, Z. And Claude has a much larger ability to absorb that information and remember it, and not have the information I'm inputting kick out my prompts, so that I can access it and interact with it over a longer period of time. Just going to check our waiting room. We're all good. Bard, then, the interesting thing about Bard is built on Google. So when I'm accessing Bard, I know I'm getting immediately up-to-date information straight from the internet. And I was experimenting with this one. What are 10 search phrases people searching to relocate to Platt Park might use? I'm not going to use it for SEO. I really am not, because there are far better tools than Bard for finding search phrases. Their whole industry is built around SEO analytics, and I go to those tools for that. But what I might use Bard for, and I'm just trying to go into some of my past examples here, what I was using Bard. I obviously don't use it that much. But here I was creating an avatar around a realtor. What are residential real estate agents' biggest fears when it comes to learning and leveraging AI, Chatgpt, Bard, Claude, or Bing? So they might be worried about job displacement, loss of control, data security, lack of expertise. These are generalized fears. Here's how they can overcome those fears. Start by learning the basics of AI. Choose AI tools designed for real estate agents. Experiment. Be transparent with your clients about the use of AI. Use AI to supplement your skills and services, not replace them. I thought this was okay, but I didn't think it was great. And so Bard, I might go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. I will. I say I might, but I am going to. I actually use ChatGPT to build an avatar and find out what my client is thinking, whether it's a real estate agent, a home buyer, a home seller. I was trying here on Bard to get it to do more cognitive stuff, and I don't find it to be that great on cognitive stuff. I find it great to go chase a current ball, tell me what a coffee shop, where a coffee shop is, what an average Google rating of a restaurant is. Insert directions to this attraction in my conversation. Like it can access Google Maps. It can do a whole lot of wonderful stuff, but it doesn't do this part well. Bing accesses Microsoft's search engine, and they have great search engines, right? I never used it. Google is still 90% of all searches. 90% of all searches in the US and Canada are still on Google. So you might consider that when you're using your information or gathering your information. But one of the things I like about using Bing is it provides these little superscripts here of where it got its information. So when I was doing a comparison of cost of living of Lakewood versus Littleton, Arvada versus Aurora, Wheat Ridge versus, gosh, I'm blanking on what starts with W here. I thought I was on a roll there. But when I'm trying to figure out, okay, help me compare the cost of living of one neighborhood, one city, because Denver has 7 counties and a lot of cities. People refer to Denver, but it's 2 million plus people in multiple cities and 7 counties. So there's Denver County, but even within Denver County, there's Wheat Ridge, there's all sorts of other Edgewater, there's all sorts of other things. So when I'm trying to compare, like, why would someone live if they're moving from San Diego to Denver and they're considering Lakewood versus Littleton? What's the cost of gas? What's the average monthly energy bill? What's the average rent? What's the average price per square foot of a home? I could go do all that research on my own and waste 8 hours of valuable time. Or if I put this into Bing, I can gather a lot of factual data very quickly, and then I can put that information back into ChatGPT. I know I said ChatGPT accesses the internet. ChatGPT actually uses Bing, but I still don't have a firm trust factor with it. I will go to Bing directly, access it for that concrete information, that detailed, nuanced information, because then it also says where it got that information. And when I'm fact checking stuff, when ChatGPT first came out, people were like, ChatGPT is just making stuff up. They called it hallucinating. And ChatGPT would, if you said, give me 3 coffee shops in my neighborhood, it would tell you, oh, this coffee shop, Rick's coffee shop is the best. And here's why people go to it. And here's his Google rating. Well, Rick's coffee shop doesn't exist. Sure, I love coffee. I drink coffee. I'm dehydrated right now and I'm coughing because I drink too much coffee. But I don't own a coffee shop. So if ChatGPT was telling you I do, it's hallucinating. It's live access to the internet via ChatGPT 4, $20 a month, and checking the Bing box. It could, and it does. But I like to go to Bing for this factual content because it tells you right down here, price to compare, move.org, edge.com. It tells you where it got the information. So you have a little bit of a higher confidence in the fact that it might be accurate. Then I'll copy my end result out, and I will put it back into ChatGPT. And it's even over here, it does have a see all recent chats. So it keeps track of some of the stuff. But if you start blasting out your cookies, is it going to disappear? If you clear your browser history, all that other stuff. Claude, I still focus almost all my stuff on ChatGPT. I'm in there about 75% of the time. And I augment it with Claude, Bard, and Bing. Unmute yourselves for a second or raise your Zoom hand. Is this making sense so far? There's our 5-10 minute overview, which ended up going about 15 to 20. Gurjeet, fire away.
Totally is great.
Yes, thank you.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. There's tons to learn. I knew about ChatGPT, but Claude, my God. Okay, so that amazing stuff there.
Okay, awesome. So at least we've covered some of the basics. People can see. And I did this. I had to do this because we're starting like 6 hours of content here. I one time was teaching a class, an hour and a half in, this brave gentleman raised his hand and he's, Rick, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. You've been talking for an hour and a half. You obviously know your stuff. What's a chat window and how do I access ChatGPT? Is that software I download? And I was like, oh my gosh, I failed. I built my house on sand and the river's washing it away. I need to build my house on a rock. So I went back, I built the rock really quickly, but now like he had to go back and insert that house on top of the rock. So I wanted to give you the rock, the foundation. Now we know what chats are. Now we know what AI models are. Now we know what generative large language models are. We know the main four. We don't know. Am I frozen or can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. I froze up on my end. So like I said, Google just like hates Zoom on my laptop. So we're gonna keep going here. I'm using Microsoft Edge for now, but there is a reason why I use Chrome when I'm interacting with ChatGPT. The reason I use that is for the Chrome extensions that ChatGPT has. So let us go over to, I'm going to do a new share here. I think that's the best way to share between browsers. I'm going to switch to using ChatGPT in Chrome. I'm going to show you why. So my ChatGPT here does not look like my ChatGPT that we just looked at, right? And the reason is I put in a Chrome extension called AIPRM. They also have free versions. They have paid versions. What is AIPRM? AIPRM for ChatGPT specifically. AIPRM is a tool. I don't make any money off of this tool. If I ever do make money on a tool that I'm recommending, I will tell you up front that I have an affiliate link, just so you know that what my intentions behind things. But if I have an affiliate link, it's because I really like the tool and I think everybody should use it. And if I'm being a broadcaster and I'm sharing this with the world, why not make $10? So in this case, I don't make any money off of this, but there are 4,425 prompts that other people have written that they think, again, they think are really good. Now, what does that mean? Let's look here, for example, a human written, 100% unique SEO optimized article. Someone has written a prompt that they think when they've been interacting with ChatGPT, they've been massaging it, they've been working it, they've been iterating, they've been going back and forth, we hope. And 3 weeks ago, Juma said, wow, this prompt removes the risk of plagiarism. It makes it sound more human. It is SEO optimized long form article with a proper outline. I've created this mega prompt that if people knew how to insert this every time they use ChatGPT, they'd get the result they wanted. They submitted it to AIPRM and said, hey, can you share this with the world? Now, why would they do this? Some people, hey, it's the goodness of their heart. Other people, they're, look here, upgraded version. There's going to be a version where they're going to charge you, whether it's $9 up front, $20 a month, $5 a month. So they're using these little 4,425 prompts that the world, those are the capitalists of the world, have, and the innovators have gone out, written prompts, come back to AIPRM, posted them here, and just like a Happy Meal or a $1 hamburger at McDonald's, if I give you a $1 hamburger, you might buy the $3 Coke and the $2 fries. And so now you're out the door for $6. Thank you for buying the $1 hamburger. That's called loss leading. That's a lead magnet if you've ever been caught in someone's marketing funnel. That is an AI Advantage Summit 2 for free if you attend live, $49 for a recording. It's the same principle. I'm being transparent with you because it works. I'm giving you 5 or 6 hours of value free, hoping that you're going to buy a $49 recording so you can access in the future. And once you get access from all of that, maybe you go into coaching with me. And that's a fee for service. AIPRM is the same way. People are putting in free prompts to offer value to you. If you find value, maybe you're going to pay to upgrade. So why would you use AIPRM? And again, AIPRM is a Chrome extension and for Chatgpt, or it's a Chrome extension that interacts with Chatgpt. But let's say I go up here and I put in the search PDF. Now I get plugins, and this is a Chatgpt 4 plugin, or someone else has created. I'm not going to put in PDFs because I'm going to do that with plugins. So let me do YouTube. Oh, Midjourney is another one, a good one to experiment with. But if I put in YouTube, people have written prompts for, give me a YouTube SEO title and description with tags. Give me a YouTube, Instagram, TikTok video script generator. How is this helpful? When you take a class from Mike Sherrard or Levi Lesniak or all the Jesse Dow, there are a bunch of experts on how to use YouTube in real estate. You're going to need to create an outline. You're going to need to create a title. You're going to need to create hashtags. You're going to need to create a description for YouTube that is found by Google because Google owns YouTube. There are all these other elements once you've actually created the video. When you're doing your marketing and branding, going back to our Summit 2 topic, when you're doing your marketing and branding, there are a lot of things you need to inject into your description, your title, your all the other stuff. So in AIPRM, when you play around with some of these prompts, rather than going over to your notepad, your Word doc, whatever you have on the side, and grabbing your YouTube prompts that you've figured out, these people, these 121 people, maybe it's the same person with 121 times, 121 people have put stuff out there saying, I think I solved your problem. If you don't want to spend 8 hours becoming a prompt engineer, try mine. And so for this one, for example, and I haven't researched these, so I'm not endorsing them. You have to experiment. But here they say, put in one keyword, and it'll create 15 SEO clickbait titles, descriptions, tags, have everything in one click. So let's try that. One keyword, right? So I click on it, and it's going to activate that down here. And you see that dark gray title come up, YouTube SEO title description with tags generator. And if I wanted to learn more about how to interact with this, AIPRM Pro, I think that's like really expensive. It's like $70 or $80 a month. You can view the prompt template source. So you can see their long prompt, and you can maybe copy it out and modify it for what you want, make it better. You can see how to interact with it. How you can report it if it's a bad prompt. You can add this prompt to your favorites list. But let's say YouTube title. So let's say Denver real estate. Cannot parse that authentication token. All right. So not all of these will work. They're free. So you're going to have to experiment. But let's say you want to, one thing I have a lot of trouble with is figuring out how to interact with Midjourney and DALL-E 3. How do I create prompts that give me the photorealistic professional walking into an elegant home on a lake, viewing out the mountains, seeing the reflection of the mountain in a $5 million home? Like, I have trouble creating that prompt for Midjourney because I don't use it a lot. Midjourney and DALL-E 3 provide tools to take text to image. Melissa, If Melissa wanted to see herself looking like a Pixar character, she could throw it into Dolly 3, throw it into Mid Journey. I'm glad that got a smile. You could throw it into Mid Journey or Dolly 3, and all of a sudden, hey, there's Ricardo fighting with X-Men. But I don't know how to write that prompt and make it look really cool. Or if you've ever wanted to see yourself as a superhero, and like, I solve all real estate problems and have a flowing cape and flowing hair and the big R on your chest, like on your little bodysuit onesie that for some reason superheroes always wear. I'm going to go up here and pick one of these and experiment and say, okay, what are the different prompts that might create a realistic photographic style that I can then throw into Dolly, throw into Mid Journey and get better output. And again, this will come back to marketing branding here in a second. So this is one reason why I use Chrome when I'm using ChatGPT. Another reason is when I'm using these plugins. So these plugins, and you can go into the plugin store, get past all the warnings and caveats and stuff. But here I'm going to say, I want to interact with YouTube with a plugin. Oh, I know there are plugins for that. So we just have an internet issue here. So we'll go back. Try this again. But when I want to interact, like there's so many things that I want to learn about. Let's say I get the recordings of the AI Advantage Summit, and I'm like, I don't have 6 hours to go back and watch this. But I'm going to try to break out all the speakers by speaker in the recordings. But let's say I really liked Bruce Turkell's 45 minutes, but I don't have 45 minutes to listen to it again. With a plugin, and first, I don't know why this is. Oh, because I didn't let it load. Or I'm just having internet issues. Always great on a live webinar. I've got gig speed on my internet, so it's just funny. But you go into the plugin store, and I'm just going to go back to my plugins because I'm not sure why this isn't working. But once you pick a plugin, this one, for example, allows me to access the internet. That was really important before ChatGPT accessed the internet. This one allows me to interact with PDFs. So if I find a PDF online, I can read that PDF. And I use that for market reports. I use that for coaching data. I use that for lead magnets. When Tom Ferry throws out a big lead magnet on, enter your email and name, and I'll give you this 100-page document. I don't want to read that 100-page document. So I grab that PDF link, I throw it in here, and I say, can you summarize this for me and give me 5 action steps? Going down, I'm trying to find one here that accesses YouTube. So Video Insights, you see a red here. It's because they've changed to now being a paid plugin. So I'll probably lose that. There's an AI for that. It's a great tool. If you're not sure what AI tools are out there, go to There's an AI for it, which is a website, or use that as a plugin and say, can you tell me, I'm looking for a tool that will write listing descriptions. And it'll give you some. Paperless Agent, by the way, has a fantastic tool for that. Trying to find one of my YouTube links here, but we'll get there. So I will throw in this plugin, for example, exports PDFs. So if I'm creating something in ChatGPT and I tell it, can you create a chart about this? Can you create a graph about that? Can you do this, that, the other thing? And it creates something beautiful. This will actually create something that I can PDF export and use as a lead magnet. So marketing and branding wise, if you're creating a first-time home buyer guide, if you're creating a how to sell in an 8% interest rate environment guide, if you're creating a should I sell or should I rent when I in an 8% environment lead magnet, and you create this lead magnet, an exchange of value for something else, right? An exchange of value. You offer something of massive value to a consumer in exchange for something from them. You want their name, you want their email, you want permission to text them. That makes sense? That's a lead magnet. The AI Advantage Summit 2 is a lead magnet. Now I have your name. Now I have your email address in exchange for 6 hours of branding and marketing content. Now we have the ability to interact with each other. 6 hours of free webinar is a lead magnet. A home buyer guide in an 8% environment is a lead magnet. A home seller guide in your brand to your avatar is a lead magnet. So you say, like in Denver, Washington Park, average home price is about 1.3 million. Homes sell anywhere from 800,000 to 3.5. I'm going to figure out how to communicate with that person, going to create a lead magnet for them. Then I'm going to offer it to them. But one of the things I could do is export that information via PDF right here. And I can try that. There are ways to export to PowerPoint. There are plugins to export to all sorts of stuff. Now, some of these tools you're going to plugins you're going to find, some you're going to experiment with. You're going to be like, that just generated some junk, seriously junk, right? Block it, blast it, keep a list of things you never want to try again, remove it from your plugins list. I was trying to use, there's a tool out there called beautiful.ai, and beautiful.ai will create PowerPoints for you, create slides for you, create a presentation for you. You can go cheap and dirty and you can say, give me a presentation for real estate, for a residential real estate agent, for a home seller guide. Little in, junk out, junk in, junk out. It'll create junk for you. But if you give it a lot of content and you go to the paid version, I don't make any money on that. If you go to the paid version, I've seen it create some really beautiful presentations. And I didn't even know the paid version would do that. On a yearly, it's $140 for a year, so it's $12 a month. On a monthly, I think it's more like $40 or $50 a month. That's the reason I haven't done it. I didn't want to commit to a year and spend $145. But I've seen enough use of it now that I'm starting to be like, if I give it better data in, it's going to give me a better presentation out. But I was experimenting. I'm like, plugins. There are some plugins that claim to create PowerPoints. Beautiful, stunning PowerPoints is what they describe. Still don't know why that's not working. I'm going to try to refresh my browser here, clear it a little bit. But if it's not giving you the beautiful PowerPoint, then go find an AI tool that will give you a beautiful PowerPoint. If the plugin doesn't give you a beautiful PDF, go over to something like designer.io and figure out, okay, how do I create a beautiful PDF? Because the plugins aren't doing it for me. Similarly, like AIPRM has a paid version where you can save stuff, save your custom prompts. Like when you start creating custom prompts, rather than keeping them on a notepad, AIPRM lets you build your own, like right here, build your own little private prompts, and you can save your prompts and just have one-click access. And then all of that beautiful prompt research you did on Tuesday in November that you forgot about, you can now access in January with one click, because you just say, hey, this is my social media manager, write a unique SEO optimized article. You click on that because it's your own. And AIPRM, based off of your paid version, and they've got a lot of different paid versions, but will allow you to one-click access that your own database, as well as Publix or AIPRMs or the ones you've favorited. You can also hide ones that aren't working. So that's a lot about AIPRM, but that's why I use sometimes Chrome, because I have that built in. Another one I really is this YouTube summaries Chrome extension. And I'm going to do some just tool diving here for a second, but I think it's by Eightify, YouTube summaries. I can click on, and that's this little orange button here as my Chrome extension, but that will allow me to go into a YouTube video and in one click, summarize that whole YouTube video, find it, copy it out, paste it, put it back in, or just for my own knowledge, summarize that video. There's so much content out there now, I can't possibly watch it all. So I'll summarize a video, I'll put it in here. I'll say, hey, can you rewrite this and put it and create an email for my clients based off of this content? Maybe I'm watching like an Ed Milet and I'm trying to work on my mindset, or Brandon Bouchard, I'm trying to work on my mindset. Or maybe I'm watching John Cheplack because I'm really trying to dial in my basics, my consistency. Or I'm watching another famous real estate coach, Tim Harris and Julie Harris. I want to listen to their podcast, but I don't have time. So I'll take like a Tim and Julie Harris podcast. I'll take that podcast that they posted on YouTube. I'll grab that YouTube link. I'll summarize it with Eightify's YouTube summaries. I'll throw it into Chatgpt. I'll say, with this, can you give me 3 action steps for today? Can you summarize this? Or can you give me an open house strategy based off of this? Now, can I access links via plugins? Yes. Can I browse with Bing via ChatGPT-4? Yes, I just click right here. And now with that blue checkbox, I can access that. I can access DALL-E 3 right here and create images right through ChatGPT, because DALL-E is Microsoft. DALL-E is working with OpenAI. So I can now, and they're trying to bump out Midjourney and become dominant. So I can access that right here. Can I do all those things? Yes. But sometimes I like to have my Chrome extension enabled and just go straight to the source. Or when I'm in YouTube, it's already embedded now, and I can just work that. So how do you use that for branding and marketing? Rick, land the plane. I've been flying all over the United States. I'm like a Google Maps 3D plane, right? I'm just scanning back and forth across the entire United States, recording the entire world to give you that 3D model. So let me try to land the plane here for a second. When you're doing your marketing and branding, now I'm putting together the 3D world that now you can access via Google Earth. And now you can sort of plug in and I built the Earth. Now let's start landing the plane a couple places. You're trying to figure out, who am I talking to and who am I? And I remember, like, I was talking to Jennifer up in Boulder one time, and she said, Rick, my business changed so dramatically when I realized who my avatar was. Who am I speaking to? And she was kind enough to give me a template. It was like, 10, 20 pages of things I had to ask and things I had to know about my client and keep top of mind every time I was putting out my marketing. Because if you try to market to everybody, you're not going to really hit anybody. But if you start dialing in on a niche, you're going to start resonating with that niche. And so what she had done in her market was she really figured out who her avatar was, who she was speaking to, so that she could very effectively communicate to them. She was essentially being AI before AI existed, and it was brilliant. And she now makes, well over $500,000 just on referral commissions every single year, because she doesn't even have to work her own leads anymore. She resonated so well with her market, with her branding, with her marketing, speaking in a language that they understood, making sure the words that came out of her mouth, got on her paper, got on her internet, really clicked with the ears of her consumer. She created this avatar. And she said, I'm going to become the best at serving this avatar. And she gave me this PDF, and it had things like, pardon me, it had things on they're like, where does your ideal client shop? What does your ideal client read? What are their fears? What are their goals? What are their objectives? If they were to pick up a book, what book's on the nightstand? Oprah Winfrey question, right? All these different things. And I was like, wow, I took this PDF. I remember this was like 3-5 years ago. I took this PDF. I'm like, if I knew this about my client, how powerful could my marketing and branding be? Then I said, if I knew this about my client, I'd already be talking to them like this. I got to know my client. I was so embarrassed. I looked at this thing. I'm like, I can't answer any of these questions. I don't know where they shop. I don't know what their fears are. I don't live in a $2 million house in Wash Park. How am I supposed to know what they think if I'm not them? And the answer at the time was, well, go talk to them, invite them out for coffee, invite them out for lunch, interact with them, take notes in your brain. And then when they leave, take notes on paper, then put it in your computer and start building out this avatar. And over the course of a year of conversations with your ideal client, you will get better at communicating with them. You'll get better at talking with them. You'll get better at understanding them. That is all still very valid advice. That is your ground game. That is your blocking and tackling. That is actually getting out there, and real estate's a contact sport. So that is actually getting out there and blocking and tackling and doing the work of real estate. 100% valid. The beautiful thing now, Johanna, the YouTube summary extension was by Eightify. IFY, 8ify. The beautiful thing, I'm just reading the chat here for a second. So the beautiful thing now about AI is you can still run your ground game. You can still block and tackle. You can still do the work that gets you dirty. It is a contact sport, but now you can supercharge that and speed that up with AI. I'm going to read a couple things in the chat here for a second. Jessica, the extra step for the extra 10%, that's not in Claude. That's a rewriting tool that I'll share a little bit later. Yes, please. Yes, please. Familiar. Okay. So just making sure I got caught up on chat here just a little bit. No, Gurjeet, that's not right. It's you spell it out. So 8ify. So spell out the word 8 and then IFY. I think that's it. So let's picture in our head, like we have this person we're trying to understand. Who are they? Where are they? What are their fears? What are they like? How do I do that? So we're going to chat with ChatGPT, and I'm just going to do this live. I'm going to do like a dirty prompt. I've got saved prompts for this. I've got a whole text file of prompts that I use, and mega prompts, which is a prompt, then it's 5 deep. I also have protocols for my really intermediate users. I teach how to write protocols where you write out something like maybe a page long, but then now that you have it, you can just use a backslash. I can type backslash neighborhood Wash Park Denver, and I will get an entire web page for Wash Park because I wrote the protocol that ChatGPT knows how to interact with the backslash. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back to basics here. I'm going to do the quick and dirty. Okay, what if I was Ricardo doing this for the first time? How do I do this? So I'm going to say, ChatGPT, you are a professional marketing and you're a professional marketer. So let's put it that way. Serving and experienced. There's nothing more intimidating than typing live. It's funny. Especially with a delayed internet. If it was, and my internet's fast, it's my Chrome browser that's stalling up. So you're a professional marketer serving an experienced real estate agent. Help me identify a home seller avatar for the Cherry Creek. No, the Cherry Creek gets really confusing. So I'm going to use Platt Park neighborhood in Denver, CO. What do you need to know from me to create that avatar? So I'm asking it for you to be the best version of you, for ChatGPT, for you to access those 200 brains that you have up there that are smarter than mine, to access the trillion data points. I'm telling it who it is. You're a professional marketer serving an experienced real estate agent. What do I want you to do? Help me identify a home seller avatar for this neighborhood. How can I help you help me? What do you need to know from me to do that? How do I get you to be the best version of you possible? This would be like if your boss ever asked you, Gurjeet, how can I get you to be the best real estate agent? So this is saying, this is really a crucial step in creating your marketing strategies. Here's what I need to know. Demographics. Obviously, we can't put that out there publicly because demographics violate all sorts of fair housing guidelines stuff. So I might not be able to give it some of that stuff, the family status. Education level, I think that's fair game. Occupation, that's fair game. And I might, if I don't know these things, I might pull this whole section and it's asking me these things. And I'm going to say, okay, maybe I asked it the wrong question because if I knew the psychographics, I might already have this avatar down. So I asked it something and now I'm intimidated by that answer. But let's say I were to take this over to, let's experiment here for a second. I'm in Chrome, so it's trying to crash my Zoom. But I'm going to go to Bing Chat. And let's go here over to the Bing Chat. So let's just do it this way. So I'm going to go over to Bing. And you can experiment with this, and I think you should. But say for the Platt Park neighborhood, hello. Did not do what I wanted it to do. For the Platt Park in Denver, CO, can you please answer these questions or identify these fact points? Colon and paste. So this is one way you could get information. How do I hide controls? Stop it, Bing. All right, so I copied in all this stuff, and I'm going to try to hit enter. So now it's searching the web for all these things. Here's some fact points about the Platt Park neighborhood. Lifestyle. Values. Couldn't find that. Pain points. Could not find that. So it goes back to our point earlier. Bing and Bard don't do psychographic or contextual information as well as they do fact points. So if I were to go back to the fact points and say, okay, I'm not going to use Bing for that, but what could I use Bing for? Maybe I could use it for local amenities and community features. Could definitely do it for that. But let's also ask ChatGPT, can you do that? Can you please going back here 1 second. Can you please provide all of the answers to those 10 major areas? Let's see how good ChatGPT does it. Oh, I can certainly provide general insights, but these will not be specific to that given neighborhood. Fair enough, right? It can't know who exactly lives there. They can't know exactly what professions they have. So that is, hey, for really precise and dialed in stuff, you're going to have to do a thorough market analysis. This is also called CYA, right? It's covering its butt because it doesn't want me to rely on that. But this is also giving me a little bit more generic stuff. So you're going to have to, again, I'm doing a quick and dirty. I've got a saved prompt that I give to my students that like really hits this and nails it, dials it in. But I want to show you, I don't want to just give you the fish. I want to teach you to fish. I want to show you how to go through and stumble through a prompt experience so that you learn how to iterate on it a little bit, so that you learn, Rick, how do you interact with this? How can I build on this? How do I refine this? How do I learn? Because yeah, I learned a lot. Maybe I don't want to just take one little prompt and from this whole 6-hour session, just take a prompt, throw it in, and be able to do one thing. That's just being a trained monkey. I'm trying to teach you how to train the monkeys, not be the monkey. I'm trying to teach you how to fish, not just give you a fish and have you come back. ChatGPT right now, and I hope some of you are actually playing on this. I think Melissa is. She looks like she's typing. Can't see a whole lot of other faces. If you could turn on your cameras, it does help me because it gauge like how you're interacting with the information I'm presenting. I can change my presentation. I can interact with you a little bit more. I can see where you're getting lost. I can dive into that a little bit more. So thank you for turning on cameras if you're in a position to, even if you're out in the car, if you're at a grocery store, that's okay. So I'm asking ChatGPT, I'm like, what do you need to know? And then can you answer some of those questions for me? And that's an okay prompt. It's an okay answer, but I still don't think it gives me what I need to really speak to that person. So let's try approaching this a different way. Just say, let's see if I can I hide these Zoom controls. They're really in my way. Hide video panel. There we go. No, that hid my people. Show video panel. Hide floating controls. That's what I want to do because I can't even see my Chatgpt. Hide floating controls. Perfect. So now I say, chat, you, bum, bum, bum. Pardon the quick delay here. Can you please create a customer avatar identifying the pain points, fears, hopes, dreams, goals of a home seller in Platt Park. I'm going to keep going back to Platt Park because I started with Platt Park. Denver. Environment. They are locked in on a home loan at 3% for 30 years. They want to move, but they are afraid to buy at 8%. So let's talk. This is something that might be fairly typical, right? It's again, garbage in, garbage out, rich in, rich out. The bigger you build these prompts, the more you iterate, the more you refine it, the better off you're going to be. But let's start with this, right? Can you create that customer avatar and speak to it a little bit? Help me understand my client. Because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and say, now, maybe I'm going to go grab an article off of the internet, right? On maybe I find a speaker that in the news that's really addressed this issue. And then I'll take that article and I'll say, this article has something really good. Can you use this article information, marry that with my mission, my vision, my USP, my unique selling proposition? Can you take this article? Can you use my USP and address the concerns of this avatar and write a letter, write something for Facebook, write something for LinkedIn, give me a YouTube outline, give me a YouTube 30-second script addressing the avatar with this information, solving it with my USP. And so it's going to then, when I put all of that together, and Bruce and Sam and Jerry and Jeffrey Verl, they're all going to dive into this at a much granular level and help you figure out your marketing and your branding. I'm doing more the nuts and bolts of how to use Chatgpt to do this. But once I have my home seller, this is the customer avatar of the cautious home seller. They might be in tech, finance, married with 2 children, bachelor's degree, stable with a home loan locked in at 30%. Psychographics, they really enjoy the amenities of Platt Park. They value the education for the children. They want to secure a better price for their home to ease the transition. They want to find a reliable, knowledgeable real estate agent. They want to move to a home that suits their evolving needs. But their goals are to sell their current home without a financial loss, to transition with minor disruption. Does this sound like someone you're working with right now? Does it sound like it understands that home seller? I think it does really well. They want you to be clear, straightforward, frequent communication, receptive to educational content that addresses their fears. And I think that does a really good job of saying, okay, this is a little bit of who we're writing to. That's one of the things you want to identify in a prompt. That's one of the things you want to identify when you start writing protocols, when you get more advanced. These are the ears that are listening to my message. Now, when I'm writing messages and I'm saying, create this message, craft this, take this article, rewrite it for this person, solve their problems, present my USP as the solution to their problem. Would it help if your client thought you were the solution to their problem? A little bit, right? That's what our marketing is for. That's what our branding does. Our branding makes us the solution. Our marketing tells them that we are the solution. And so we're going to have Chatgpt help us position ourselves to be so that people understand we are that solution, so that they understand we are able to help them with the issues that they have. We're going to help them achieve their dreams, achieve their goals. We can communicate with them in a way that they understand. But ChatGPT, as that brilliant golden retriever that wants to give us everything we're asking it for, now has one more piece of information that we can plug in to a protocol, to a mega prompt, and say, remember the cautious home seller avatar. And when we're interacting with it in one chat, it will remember now the customer avatar, their cautious home seller. So we could say, given the cautious home seller avatar, that's saying who we're writing to, remembering in your role as a professional copywriter. Oh, I just spelled that wrong. That's embarrassing. And SEO expert with a marketing background. I'm going to really boost them up. So who are you writing to? Who are they? In a tone that is professional, yet friendly, optimistic, and encouraging, please write a 500-word article for my residential real estate website, sharing with them why now is a good time to sell. Again, I haven't given it my USP. We haven't gotten that far yet. We're going to develop your USP, your branding this later through today with Bruce and Sam and everybody else. But this is going to be a better prompt than if I just said, write an article on why it's a good time to sell. Now I've identified the avatar. I've identified its role. I've given it a tone. I've given it some parameters and some restrictions, some constraints, the 500-word article. Who am I? Who's the client? The residential real estate website. But we're going to go into what is that, right? Who is the residential real estate website? That's generic. That doesn't tell me who Ricardo is. That doesn't tell me like why they should choose Johanna or Carlene or Shelley. So we need to still define that part, but this is going to get better. I'm also going to say, be cognizant of the fair housing guidelines. Because it's going to get me 80% of the way there, cognizant. Again, you don't have to be correct in your typing. That's just my little OCD thing. But be careful. I wanted to at least, I don't want it, coming out with, so this is such a kid-friendly environment for blah, 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 and violate all sorts of fair housing guidelines, also not represent my brand, also be restrictive and not inclusive. Let's try to put that constraint on there. Excuse me. So let's just see what this does and how it might interact with us now that we've given it a little bit more. We're shaping that golden retriever. We're telling it the ball. And I've given it a tone. I've given it some constraints. I've told it what the avatar is. I've told it who it is. I haven't given it a lot of information. Like I didn't put an article in here that I want it to draw some data from. So if I were to, in my marketing and branding, I don't think this is ever going to be good enough. So I would go out to the internet. I'd find a really good article on selling in an 8% environment, why it's such an awesome idea. I'd say 95% of the news is pounding the drum that it sucks right now. Like we've got this low inventory environment with high interest rates and the real estate market's crashing and real estate agents aren't necessary and all that drum. Like we need to control the message. So go out there, find an article that really nails that. If you don't want to find the article, ask AI to find the article for you. Find me an article that's really pumps up the fact that it's a great time to sell in an 8% environment. Then R&D, rip off and duplicate. Don't recreate the wheel. Rip off and duplicate that article. Say, drawing on the main points of this article, making sure not to plagiarize, making sure that it's in my voice, Now let's juice this article, right? So it wrote an article and it didn't understand what I meant by it, because I'm like, I don't want to explain fair housing guidelines to my consumer. I wanted it to remember not to discriminate based off this, that, and the other thing. So as I'm refining this prompt, again, I'm teaching you to fish, change from this lure to that lure, change from this hook to that hook, put a different line in your fishing rod. I'm going to change how I talk to it about the constraint of the fair housing guidelines, because I'm not trying to tell my consumer about that. I'm wanting it not to discriminate. Then I'm also going to go in and say, this article doesn't really give me what I need. So I'm going to have to build this out more. I'm going to give it more information. I'm going to refine it. I'm going to now, and again, you don't have to do this all the time. Once you actually get it down, now you have it. Now you can quickly do it for other neighborhoods. Now you can quickly do it for other articles. Now you can save that prompt in AIPRM. You can save that prompt in a text file. You can do a lot better things, faster, better, cheaper with AI. But I'm teaching you how to figure out how to read that river. So when you're fly fishing, you know where the fishing holes are. You know what fly to put on your fly rod. So in doing this, I'm sorry, I've got to turn off my phone here. I've got one number blowing me up. Focus. So does anybody else have that? You're trying to focus and like other things happen in the world, right? There's a squirrel that just ran by my window. So in remembering your cautious home seller avatar, okay, we found a river. I'm going to run with the fly fishing analogy here for a little bit. If you've ever seen a river runs through it back in the day, I live near the mountains. I see people fly fishing all the time. I really don't understand why you'd spend $2,000 on gear when you can go to a grocery store and get an organic fish that was caught in the wild for $7. But people find it relaxing, right? It's the process of fishing. It's not the actual fish they catch. So let's teach you how to fly fish in SEO and in Chatgpt and AI. You're trying to find the river, then you're trying to find the place behind the rock. Now that's where the fish are. You still have to know how to cast. You have to know what to put on the hook. You have to know what fly is working today. You have to know what hook for the weight of the fish. You have to know the line, all of that. What I'm teaching you right now is how to fish. It's how to generate your prompts. I'm not just giving you that prompt. I give that to my students so they can make faster progress. But when you're here, you're going to say, okay, I like the avatar. I like, as I'm doing this, identifying who that person is, I might say, what professional copywriters are you aware of? Explain their different styles to me. What SEO experts are you aware of? Explain their different strengths to me. Explain what different marketing people do. And then I could say, okay, I like this copywriter. I like this SEO expert. I like this marketing background. And ChatGPT is familiar with them. So I might change this little highlighted portion to be in the style of this person with the SEO expertise of Neil Patel and the marketing background of Dan Kennedy. I might change that up. Describe to me a couple of, and these are in different chats. This isn't going to be in this one, but I might say, describe tones for me and the result that I get when I put them in a prompt. What does professional mean? What does friendly mean? What does encouraging mean? This is really nuanced stuff and will be replaced in 3 to 6 months. I have a white label product coming out in January where literally you just click button. I want it to be professional, engaging. You just click radio button what you want. You radio button the length, you radio button short, medium, long. I want it in a 5-point format. I want it in a long format. I want it for a website. It's radio button easy. And just like AIPRM, it interfaces with ChatGPT or Claude, whatever your favorite engine is, and it will custom overlay all of these prompts and build them in. It gives you, this tool that's coming out in January is crazy. It gives you like 15 SEO experts to pick from and 15 marketing people to choose from. And it's not out yet, but by the time it becomes commonplace, and it'll be, I don't know, like $97 a month or something, but by the time anybody can do it, you've lost your competitive advantage. So what I'm trying to teach you today is how to get the competitive advantage of using AI in Q4 2023 before other people are just using interfaces in Q1 and Q2. because there's a lot of ground to gain here in the next 2 months if you don't fall asleep. Everybody else is taking off for Thanksgiving. They're taking off for Christmas and all the other holidays and Hanukkah, every other holiday that comes up for every religion and every non-religion in the next 2 months. They're coasting. And while we have 63 or 65 days left in the year, most realtors are going to work 15 of those. And then they're going to wonder why their Q1 pipeline is dry. Your leads are 60 to 90 days out. Your next closing is 90 to 120 days out. When you're building this stuff, when you're learning how to fish, when you're just given the ideal fly kit for this river in my course, and I just say, here's the fly kit, go create content that's on brand in marketing to your avatar, you're going to be able to do this faster, better, cheaper, and just run with it. So we have our first national just mega star speakers coming up here in 8 minutes. I'm going to do just one little shameless plug for people who do want to have some interaction with me. I do something that's a little bit crazy. I have a program that is, I have two major programs that I coach with, if you're interested. And again, this is going to be me for 3 minutes doing a shameless plug, and then I'll stop. If I can figure out how to get my video controls back here. Come on. I know how to hide my video controls now on Zoom, but I don't know how to get them back. So I'm not even sure. Hopefully I can let in my next speaker. But there are two ways to interact with me. One is I do have a 16-week course where for 16 weeks, we dive into video scripts, SEO, blog titles, website descriptions, neighborhood building out. 16 weeks, 1 hour a week, we dive in on a given topic. If you're interested in that, you can throw that in the chat. That's a little bit more expensive. For what you get, it's still a really big bargain, and I'll probably end up throwing coupon codes out to people who are here. Because by yourself, it's $6,800. But if you get 2 or 3 or 4 people together, you get 10 people together, you can get that all the way down to $2,000 per person. I'd rather have a big class and have you pay less than teach one person one-on-one. So it starts at $6,800 for one person. For 4 people, it's $3,000 a piece. For 10 people, it's $2,000 a piece. So I can give you that breakdown. The other thing I do is I've recently, and this people think I'm really crazy for doing this, for just $1,000, I give a full year of one-on-one coaching where you use a Calendly link to book me for 15 minutes. And we dive in for 15 minutes on a problem you're experiencing right now. We share screens. It's just you and me, Joanna. And we dive in one-on-one and say, what's your problem this week? What's a win you've had this week? What's a problem you've had this week? What's an obstacle? What have you tried so far? What do you think you could try? Right? Where's that fish? What lure have you tried? What fly have you tried? What string have you tried? What rock have you tried? If you're open to coaching, let's try this rock. Let's try that. Let's try that lure. Let's try this. And so for a full year, one-on-one, we help you achieve your specific goals of the week to move the needle forward, focused on action and implementation, overcoming goals, objectives. That's just $1,000. It's insane value. It's really the best value in coaching for the entire year. And I'll stop selling here in about 1 minute. So Deja and others will come back. But for $1,000, you get unlimited coaching with me for a full year, one-on-one, 15-minute sessions, little bursts, little micro bursts. It's insane. It's the best value in coaching out there. And that is all focused on AI. Maya, are we able to get a recording of this session? Everything is being recorded. The VIPs get the recordings, and that I think is $49. Once Bruce starts talking, I'll bounce out and start getting access. I'll put a link in there for the recordings for today. $49 to access the 6 hours in eternity is an awesome value. Each of these speakers that's coming on, for them to keynote at a conference for an hour and a half, they charge like 10, 20 grand. So to get 5 of them for $49 and me, I think that's an incredible value.
Yeah, Rick, this is Shelley again. As you were going, that was great, by the way. That hour and a half was amazing. I jumped into ChatGPT with the AI RPM, and I was typing the same prompts you were, but I was getting similar but yet different answers. Is ChatGPT keyed into what you've done previously and knows a certain style? What would cause that?
Yeah, so what causes that is down in the, if you look in the lower left, you'll see your profile. There's a little picture and a link next to you. And if you click on that, it has custom instructions. And so I've put in some custom instructions and I teach my students how to create these, but who I am and how I want it to interact with me. And so ChatGPT has a knowledge base of who I am already, not from previous chats, because every chat starts a new golden retriever. It doesn't know what the ball is. It doesn't know what its goal is. But in my custom profile, I've built in a little bit of information. So when it interacts with me, it already knows a little bit about me.
Okay, I'll speak up. While I had written that I was familiar with everything and was bummed that you were going to the basics, I have to say, phenomenal. I use a lot of these tools already, but you really brought a whole new appreciation for how to use them more effectively. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that basics for one person is not basics for another, right? So really glad that was helpful.
Hello, Rick.
Hello, who's that? I'm
Nancy.
typing our speaker to make sure he knows how to get in.
This is Nancy. Thank you so much for the webinar.